Just brutal news out of Southern California last night. USC phenom JuJu Watkins will miss the remainder of the women's NCAA tournament after tearing the ACL in her right knee during the Trojans' win over Mississippi State. That's what sources told our Shams Charania. Now, a team spokesperson said that Watkins would undergo season-ending surgery and then begin rehab. Hall of Famer Holly Rowe, who was in the building on the broadcast yesterday, joins us now. Holly, through the television, you could feel the devastation of fans as soon as JuJu went down. Up close, I imagine it was even more acute. What was the scene like in Galen Center in the wake of JuJu's injury?
It was honestly very devastating. You have to consider this young woman is absolutely beloved. She is a local kid from Watts. The fans have come out. Attendance has been raised by almost 5,000 people per game since she started playing there. And she has made such an impact. And so when she went down, it just felt like the collective soul had been sucked out of that building. And then there was a lot of anger. Every time Mississippi State touched the ball for about the next 30 possessions, they got booed. It was very heightened emotionally. I will say this, it was incredible how her team was able to respond. I think there was a moment on the bench right when the injury happened. You know, players are looking stricken. Lindsey Gottlieb is collecting herself, trying not to cry. And they somehow found a way to collect themselves. Kiki Iriafen with 36 points in that game to get her team to the Sweet 16, the most points in a USC game in NCAA history. So really impactful how they collected themselves, but a very devastating gut punch to see their star and their beloved JuJu go down.
Yeah, Kiki Iriafen really picked up any void that was left there by JuJu. You have to wonder sort of how they're going to continue on in this NCAA tournament. Holly, thank you so much for stopping by NBA Today. The entire basketball world, it was hurting last night. Caitlin Clark, Lisa Leslie, Aaliyah Boston, Angel Reese, Magic Johnson, so many more you can see took to social media to send their thoughts, their prayers to JuJu. Now welcome in another Hall of Famer, Rebecca Lobo. Rebecca, you've torn your ACL before. Can you just take us through your experience? Tell us what JuJu may be facing here and what an eventual return could look like.
Well, what we've seen, especially recently with high-level athletes in terms of women's college basketball, is it's about a 12-month recovery process for them to get back on the court. First of all, emotionally, you're torn. This is what every athlete dreams of, is this time of year and playing in the NCAA tournament. And JuJu and her team had a realistic chance to win a national championship this year. So, of course, there's a lot of emotions and feelings there. But one thing that she can look to is the success of some of her contemporaries. We saw Paige Bueckers a couple of years ago tear an ACL and then returned last year and led UConn to a Final Four. Olivia Miles from Notre Dame tore her ACL, sat out last year, and this year, Malika, she's having a career year in terms of her efficiency. So we have seen players come back from this, perform at a really high level. One of the things that's interesting to me as a person who covers the WNBA, JuJu Watkins is a player who is eligible for the 2027 draft. Assuming she redshirts next season, which I think is a fair assumption, she would still be able to enter that 2027 draft, but could also return to USC for a fourth year of eligibility and wait until the 2028 draft. So that's a layer of this looking down the road that is certainly interesting to WNBA GMs.
Yeah, absolutely, because we've already heard WNBA GMs looking at that draft, as you mentioned before, as one that's incredibly deep, trying to position themselves already for when JuJu comes out. Could that timeline potentially be shifted now? That's something that certainly we're going to keep an eye on for the future. But bringing it back to the present, Rebecca, JuJu's played in every game so far this season for USC. In fact, entering last night, look at this, the Trojans, they've only played a grand total of 168 out of a possible 1,285 minutes without JuJu on the floor. That's huge. How do you expect her absence to impact the remainder of the tournament here for a USC team that you just said had championship ambitions?
I expect it to impact them in a massive way. This is similar to if Caitlin Clark had gotten injured over the course of either of the last two seasons. Because JuJu is so high usage for USC, leads them in scoring, leads them in assists, leads them in steals. She's the primary ball handler, the primary facilitator. So Kiki Iriafen, of course, was huge last night. But to win a championship, to get to a Final Four, you have to have elite level guard play. And USC still has terrific guards, but all of them, most of them who get these minutes are freshmen. Kennedy Smith is going to be huge for them, but certainly it's to make it to a Final Four, especially if the path is going to include beating UConn, it just became colossally hard for USC in a way that it would not have been if they had JuJu Watkins. I don't think there's another player on another team who is as important to her team's success in this NCAA tournament that it even comes close to what JuJu does for USC.
Yeah, and I did love what Andreas said to our colleague SVP last night, which is with players like this, greatness can be delayed for JuJu, but it won't be denied. She will be back and hopefully better than ever. But I'm bummed. I'm bummed because one of the matchups I had circled, I had so many circled, but one of them was this collision course for USC and UConn in the Elite Eight, Rebecca. And with Watkins out, I hate that it comes in the face of injury, but it does feel like the door has sort of been flung open for Paige Bueckers to lead UConn and the Huskies to their 16th Final Four in the last 17 seasons. And last night, this is our electric moment brought to you by Hyundai. Paige made her final game on UConn's campus, 1-2, remember. Late in the first quarter, Bueckers, she would just take over. Watch her here, hits the floater, gets that one to go. And then, rallying up her teammates on the next UConn possession, time winding down in the first, Bueckers with the step back to beat the horn. Just lethal, a 12-0 run for Bueckers alone to end the quarter. And then in the third, Bueckers, watch her here, hits the three. Sixth career 25-point game in the tournament. That's tied with the legend Maya Moore for the most such games by a UConn player in the last 25 years. And then Paige Buckets, she wasn't done. Turnaround jumper there. And then she said, nah, I got more. I got more for you here. Next UConn possession, another one, Midi. She joins Maya Moore once again, the only UConn players with multiple 30-point games in the tournament. And then just some icing on the cake here in the fourth quarter. Bueckers gets the handoff, hits the jumper, ties a career high with 34 points. And then Gino Auriemma said, all right, that's good. That's enough. You tied your career high. And I just love that she understood the moment, Rebecca. She finished with a 12 straight to close the first quarter. She took control of the game. She addressed the crowd on the mic after, top to bottom, a star you root for. What made her performance so memorable in your eyes?
Well, you know, Coach Auriemma at the beginning of this season called Paige Bueckers the most unguardable player in America, and she looked like that yesterday. She came out looking to score. At times, she's been criticized for being too unselfish. She wasn't that yesterday. And Malika, what really stood out to me, not only was her aggressiveness hunting her own shot, but she made 14 field goals, and they were all different from one another. She never celebrated herself on her made field goals, but how about on this play? The one time she has the assist there, she just loses it. She's a great teammate. Her teammates love playing with her. So yesterday, yes, she was absolutely unguardable. All 14 field goals made came in a different fashion, and she elevated the play and the confidence of all of those around her. And that's what the greats have. And she's playing the best basketball, I think, right now of her career.
And now for the 31st straight season, UConn is headed here to the Sweet 16. And you got to wonder, is it their tournament to lose here? Rebecca Lobo, we look forward to checking in with you as the dance continues on. But
NBA